All right, we're on the second video for P2. Now, remember our P2 goal is to add, subtract, and multiply polynomials. Well, in the first video, we were able to see adding and subtracting. Now, let's talk about multiplying polynomials. Whenever I multiply polynomials, I want to think about this as polynomial distribution. All right. Each term has to be distributed to the next one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write down some basic steps that are, hopefully will keep you organized. But then we're going to do about 5 or 6 examples, okay? So the first thing I need you to know is we're going to distribute from the first polynomial to the second polynomial. And I'm short and just writing poly for this. Then the next thing we need to do is combine like terms. Notice the theme. Combine like terms when you add, combine like terms when you subtract, and you're also going to combine like terms when you multiply. When it comes to combining like terms, remember you are simply adding and subtracting coefficients. Might even be easier just to think about you're adding coefficients, whether they're positive or negative. That might be an easier way of thinking about it. All right, so here we go. Let's try this out. What happens if I have a monomial times a binomial? Or bigger, right? It could be a trinomial, 4-term, 5-term, it doesn't matter. The idea is that you're multiplying a monomial times another polynomial. So a monomial times some other polynomial. And in my example, it's just going to be a binomial here. So here we go. Let's try 4x times 3x squared plus 6. All right, so here I have a monomial. You might also see this simply written as 4x times 3x squared plus 6, like this. And this is probably what we're a little bit more used to. But I want you to see that we have a monomial. And notice there's no symbol here between parentheses. That's because it's multiplication. Whenever you have a parentheses butted up next to another parentheses, this is multiplication. Right? We're used to seeing this where all we simply do is distribute. And that's exactly what you're going to do here. Right? Trust your instincts on this one. Okay, so I'm going to distribute every term from the first polynomial to every term in the second. Well, here I only have one term in the first polynomial, so this is going to be fairly simple. We're going to distribute the 4x times 3x squared. So 4 times 3 gives me 12. X times x squared is x to the third. And now we're going to multiply the 4x with the 6. So 4x times 6, it's a positive 6, a positive 4, positive 6. It gives me 24. And I have x to the first and no x's here, so I'll end up with x to the first. And whenever you distribute a monomial to any polynomial, they do not have to combine any like terms. So that means we're done. Okay. Now, let's get into something that's going to be a lot more common. And this is something that we're going to do a whole lot of. And as we do this, we're going to multiply a binomial times a binomial. Some of you might refer to this as FOIL. I'm going to try to shy away from FOIL because it might mess up some things later on. But as we do this, note, we will be doing this backwards. So once we multiply these, in a few videos from now, we're going to start undoing this and going backwards. All right, so let's take a look at a nice easy example here. Let's try x plus 4 times 3x squared minus... Oh, dude, 3x squared again. Bummer. Let's go with 5x here. Okay? So I have a binomial times a binomial. Now, again, this could be a binomial or a trinomial or 4 or 5 or 6 terms. It doesn't matter. The process is the same. Okay? What we need to do is we're going to distribute every term from the first polynomial into every term in the second polynomial. So the first term that we have here is x. I'm going to distribute the x to the 3x squared, and then I'm going to distribute it to the negative 5x. So x times 3x squared is 3x to the third. Right? There's 1 times 3 is 3. X times x squared is x to the third. Now, x times negative 5x, it's a positive times a negative, which is negative. 1 times 5 is 5. X times x is x squared. Now, I've distributed x to both terms. I want to now distribute the 4 to both terms, the 3x and the negative 5x. So 4 times 3x gives us a positive 3x squared gives us a positive 12x squared. Now 4 times negative 5x, well, the positive times the negative is negative, and 4 times 5 is 20, and I have an x. No x times an x is an x. So I have distributed every term from the first polynomial into every term in the second polynomial. Step 2. Combine like terms. Again, we're just simply adding our coefficients together on like terms. So 3x to the third. I have no other x to the thirds, so I'm left with 3x to the third. Negative 5x squared plus 12x squared. I have a negative 5x squared and a positive 12x squared. So I think about my number line. If I go to the left 5 units and then to the right 12 units, I would be at 7x squareds. And now the lonely guy over here, negative 20x. I don't have any other to go with it, so it's still minus 20x. I'm going to do one more example. Let's do a binomial times a trinomial and see how that turns out. Sorry, my wife is in the other room watching makeup videos, and it's really funny. If you heard that, I want you to come give me a high five and say your wife is watching makeup videos, and I'll give you a piece of candy. All right, so let's do one more example. Let's do the binomial times a trinomial. A binomial times a trinomial. My handwriting is getting much worse, and I'm so sorry for that. All right, a binomial times a trinomial. So let's do this example here. Let's multiply x minus 3 with 2x squared plus 4x minus 6. All right, the process is still the exact same. All right, I need to distribute every term from the first polynomial, and I'm going to distribute to every term in the second polynomial. So this x is going to get distributed to the 2x squared, 4x, and the negative 6. So here we go. X times 2x squared. X times 2x squared. I have 1 times 2 is 2. X times x squared is x to the third. And now x times 4x. Well, 1 times 4 is positive 4. X times x is x squared. And now x times negative 6. 1 times negative 6 is negative 6. X times 1 is x. Okay, so I'm done distributing the x. Now I'm going to distribute the negative 3. So negative 3 times a positive 2x squared. A negative 3 times a positive 2 is a negative 6. 1 times x squared is x squared. Negative 3 times 4x. Negative 3 times a positive 4 is a negative 12. 1 times x is x. And finally, negative 3 times negative 6. A negative times a negative is positive. 3 times 6 is 18. So I've distributed everything. Now I want to combine like terms. Starting with my largest exponent, which is x to the third. There's only one of those, so I'm going to rewrite 2x to the third. Now I have a positive, well, I'm going to scratch him out. Positive 4x squared and a negative 6x squared. Well, you have 4 to the right on the number line, 6 to the left on the number line. I'd be at negative 2x squareds. I'm done with this, guys. Negative 6x minus 12x will go to the left 6 and the left 12 more. I'd be at negative 18x. Oh, just x. I'm done with those guys, and all I'm left with is this 18 on the end. And that is as far as I can take it.